Everyone makes jokes about, haha, I could join a cult and not be brainwashed. I mean, I know that I've said it, but these cults are on a next level. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I'm your host Emily and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 terrifying cults in history that brainwashed their members. Coming in at number 10 is the People's Temple. In the 1950s, Indiana native Jim Jones founded a church that he claimed promoted socialism and equality with religious elements of Christianity. Initially, he was a little more than a charismatic hustler, but as the years progressed, he demanded more and more of followers. In the early 1970s, Jones moved his group to California and set them up in a commune-like settlement in Redwood Valley. Jones eventually came to believe that a nuclear war was imminent and moved his followers again to the South American country of Guyana, which he thought would be outside the potential danger zone. The group lived there for several years as the People Temple Agricultural Project, but after former members started speaking out against the church, San Francisco Congressman Leo Ryan decided to travel to Jonestown to investigate claims of mistreatment. Temple security guards opened fire on Leo's group, and back at the settlement, Jones ordered his followers to drink a cyanide-laced beverage. Now this is where the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid originates. A total of 918 people died in the incident, and until 2001 it was the largest loss of American civilian life in history. Number 9. Narcosatanists. Adolfo Constanzo was a cult leader who led an infamous drug trafficking and occult gang in Mexico. His cult members nicknamed him the Godfather, and he led the cult with Sarah Alderete, whose followers named the Godmother. Now the cult was involved in multiple ritualistic deaths, including the death of Mark Kilroy, an American student who died in Matamoros in 1989. Mark was taken by his abductors to a ranch where he was tortured and sodomized for hours before dying in a human sacrifice ritual. His life was ended with a machete blow, and then he had his brain removed and boiled in a pot. The cult then inserted a wire through his spinal column, amputated his legs at the knees, and buried him at the ranch along with 14 other people who had their lives taken before him. Adolfo told his followers that human sacrifice granted them immunity from law enforcement for their drug smuggling operations. Now Adolfo, Sarah, and the rest of the cult went on the run when detectives discovered their shrine. Eventually, the police found their hideout in Mexico City on May 6, 1989. And after shootout, Adolfo and one of his accomplices were shot, and Sarah was convicted of criminal association in 1990 and jailed for 6 years. Number 8. Love Has Won. On April 28, 2021, the mummified remains of Amy Carlson, the leader of the group Love Has Won, were found in a home in Moffat, Colorado. Amy was known as her followers as Mother God and claimed to be able to cure cancer and communicate with angels. The group proclaimed that Amy was a divine 19 billion year old being who had birthed all creation. She claimed that she had been reincarnated 534 times, including as Jesus, Joan of Arc, Marilyn Monroe, and Cleopatra, and would lead 144,000 people into a mystical fifth dimension. According to affidavits taken by the county sheriff's office, the group was brainwashing people and stealing their money. A core group of 12 to 20 members lived with Amy, and this group did daily live streams on YouTube in order to recruit more members, solicit donations, and promote new age products and vitamin supplements. The group offered etheric surgery, which cost $88 per session, claiming that they could remove sickness and negative energy from the body. Number 7. Branch Davidians. The Branch Davidians broke off from the Davidians Seventh-day Adventists in 1955, but didn't make headlines until the infamous Waco siege in 1993. In 1981, David Koresh took over the group, which was headquartered at a commune called Mount Carmel. After allegations of mistreatment within the commune, on February 28, 1993 at 4:20 a.m., the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms attempted to execute a search warrant relating to the charges. The ATF attempted to breach the compound for approximately 2 hours until their ammunition ran low. 4 ATF agents died and another 16 agents were wounded during the raid. The FBI then launched a siege that lasted for 51 days and ended with the compound being destroyed by fire. Now David died along with 76 others, and a governmental investigation later concluded that the branch had started the fire themselves. Number 6. The movement for the restoration of the 10 Commandments of God. Wow, now that name is a mouthful. So this sect formed in the Kangyu district of Uganda in the 1980s and taught its members that they had to follow the 10 Commandments in order to survive the apocalypse, which the leaders believed was coming in the year 2000. When January 1st, 2000 passed without incident, shocking, I know, members began to question why their leaders had failed to get their apocalypse date right, and leaders then predicted that the real end would come on March 17th. Now, it did, but not because of anything supernatural. The leaders set fire to the movement church, ending the lives of as many 530 people inside. Authorities later discovered the bodies of more victims at the group's other properties in Uganda and concluded that the leaders had orchestrated the deaths in response to turmoil caused by their repeated failure to predict the apocalypse. Number 5. Good News International Church. Good News International Church was founded by Paul Mackenzie and his first wife in 2003. It's adamantly anti-Western, with amenities such as healthcare, education, and sports being dismissed as evils of Western life, and with Paul condemning the United States, the United Nations, and the Catholic Church as tools of Satan. The group also devotes much of its teachings to the end of times. Now, Paul accumulated a sizable following largely due to convincing his followers that he could speak directly with God. Now, the group attracted international attention in April 2023 when it was revealed that Paul had allegedly instructed members to starve themselves en masse to meet Jesus, which had resulted in the deaths of over 400 people. Not to mention, more than 600 people are still reported missing, a regional official said. Now, Paul did not join his followers in the mass starvation though. In fact, a dietary menu was found on the wall in one of the special houses in the forest believed to be his resting room. Now, he is currently under police custody as the process of exhuming bodies continues, and police authorities claim that some bodies were missing organs and believe that they were being harvested and sold. Number 4. Heaven's Gate. Founded by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles in the 1970s, Heaven's Gate was a cult that had a complicated belief system involving aliens, spaceships, and an intimate recycling of the planet Earth. Now, after Bonnie died in 1985, Marshall took the group to even further extremes, and in 1997 Marshall taped himself in Dew's Final Exit, speaking of a mass self-elimination and the only way to evacuate this Earth. After asserting that Comet Hales-Bopp was the sign the group had been looking for, as well as speculation that an unidentified flying object, UFO, may have been trailing the comet, Marshall and his 38 followers prepared for taking their own lives in a ritual so their souls could reach the next level before the closure of Heaven's Gate. Members believed that after their deaths, a UFO would take their souls to another level of existence above human, which Marshall described as being both physical and spiritual. Their preparations included each member videotaping a farewell message. Now, to end their own lives, members took phenobarbital mix with applesauce or pudding and washed it down with vodka. Now, after ingesting the applesauce/pudding mix, they secured plastic bags around their heads to induce asphyxiation. They all wore the same uniform and Nike shoes and had $5.75 in their pockets. Number 3. Synanon. Synanon, originally known as Tender Loving Care, is a new religious movement founded in 1958 by Charles E. Chuck Destrich Sr. in Santa Monica, California. Originally established as a drug rehabilitation program, Synanon developed an alternative community center on group truth-telling sessions that came to be known as the Synanon Game, a form of attack therapy. Now, the group ultimately became a cult called the Church of Synanon in the 1970s. People of all professions worked to give their money to the group, often doing tremendous amounts of physical labor. Synanon at one point had $33 million in assets. As Charles's hunger for power grew and the rules of Synanon became stricter and the mistreatment became more rampant, Charles compiled an enemies list, which ultimately became a hit list. One included lawyer Paul Montez, who wanted to help free families kept in Synanon and had won a $300,000 judgment against Synanon for abducting and brainwashing a member. Now, this enraged Charles to the point that he ordered 2 of his Imperial Marines to place a venomous rattlesnake in Paul's mailbox the following months. Now, Paul was bitten but barely survived. Police raided Synanon, and a drunk Charles was arrested in his home on December 2nd, 1978. He was sentenced to 5 years supervised probation, fined $5,000, and ordered to no longer run Synanon. The group was shut down forever due to violence and tax fraud in 1991, and Charles died on February 28, 1997. Number 2. The Kirtland Cult. Mormon extremist Jeffrey Lundgren claimed he was a prophet and could talk to God. He took an unpaid position as a temple guide at the Kirtland Temple, but was fired for embezzling tens of thousands of dollars. After losing his job, he started his own church with members who felt the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was becoming too inclusive to women in the LGBT community. Jeffrey rented a farmhouse for his followers to live in, and he would soon meet the Avery family, who had moved from Missouri to join his group. Although they gave Jeffrey thousands of dollars, he still found it sinful that they didn't live on the commune and had saved money from selling their previous home. Jeffrey had several criticisms about the family as well. He disliked the husband Dennis, thought the wife Cheryl was too independent, and felt their children were misbehaved. Jeffrey then had become more violent and paranoid in his beliefs, and he encouraged male followers to start firearms training to prepare for the end of days. He also devised a plan to take over the Kirtland Temple. However, members shared these plans with police and it never happened. Now, Jeffrey later preached that he would bring Zion to Kirtland if members got rid of their belongings and moved into the wilderness. The Avery family was on board and prepared to do so, but Jeffrey told others the family must die to reach Zion. On April 17, 1989, the entire Avery family was invited to the farmhouse and had their lives ended by Jeffrey and several members of the Kirtland Cult. The family's bodies were found beneath piles of garbage, soil, and their personal items in January 1990. They had been bound and gagged, thrown into a pit, and shot. Jeffrey was convicted of homicide and died by lethal injection on October 24, 2006. And coming in at number 1 is Scientology. Scientology is a set of beliefs and practices invented by the American author L. Ron Hubbard and an associated movement. Estimates put the number of Scientologists at under 40,000 worldwide. As you may know, many celebrities are a part of this group, like Tom Cruise, John Travolta, and Elizabeth Moss. Scientology beliefs include reincarnation and that traumatic events cause problematic engrams in the mind. They claim that an activity called auditing can remove the engrams, and a fee is charged for each session of auditing. Once an auditor deems an individual free of engrams, typically after several years, they are given the status of clear, aka it's just a cash grab. There have been controversies involving the Church of Scientology, and they include criminal behavior by members of the organization, including the infiltration of US government, organized harassment of people perceived as enemies of the Church of Scientology, Scientology's disconnection policy, in which some members who are antagonistic to the organization, and attempts to legally force search engines to censor information critical of the Scientology organization. Now, this cult is clearly still active today, which is scary. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 terrifying cults in history that brainwashed their members. Which cult do you think is the scariest? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.